Good morning, co-creators. How y'all doing this morning? I hope all of you guys have enjoyed the wonderful sharing that we had yesterday, the keynotes, panel discussions. And today, before we dive into the next panel session, I would like to brief introduction about myself. My name is Tsai. I'm the head of strategic partnerships for Alibaba.com for North America. And again, I want to thank you all again for coming out here this morning. And I hope you guys be enjoying the event. So without further ado, let's jump right in. To start off, I would like to introduce our first panelist here on my left-hand side. Mr. Parker Shi from East West Bank. And then Mr. Parker served as a Chief Operating Officer of East West Bank. And East West Bank is the largest independent bank headquartered in California and renowned as one of the leading institutions in the US, focused in serving the small, medium business communities and also the diverse communities in the region. And Parker is responsible for the overall strategy for the bank, enterprise operations and technology, and the bank's consumer banking businesses. And next, we have Ms. Roseate Wagner. Roseate is the head of the institutional business of Ant Group, which is a renowned financial institution, technology company known for its innovative digital financial services and payment platform. And Roseate is responsible for Ant Group institution business, as well as customer fund management and commercial cross-border business in US. And next, we have Mr. Taeyong. Ty is the head of digital services at Samsung SDS, the affiliated IT and logistics service company of Samsung Group. And Song is in charge of the overall Samsung digital logistics service platform in the US. Thank you, guys. Great. So with that as an intro to our panelists, let's just jump right into discussion. Let's start off first off, Parker, as a CEO of East West Bank, could you provide us some insights into East West Bank, right, as a bank in terms of your focus, your role, and in supporting small medium businesses engaging international trade?
Great. Thank you. So yesterday, Stephen Cole was talking about the challenges SMBs typically face. And I think the number he used was 27% of our SMB owners deal with the financing challenges. And that's why East West Bank exists. We're hoping to help solve the 27% of the problem. So for many of you who never heard of East West Bank before, as Alex said, we are one of the largest banks in California. We're the second largest bank in California, headquartered in California. We're the largest one based out of Southern California. We started 50 years ago. Back then, many of the immigrants from Asia come to the United States. They were trying to settle down here. They were trying to start their business in the United States. And they were having difficulties getting the financing, getting the banking services from traditional banks. And the East West Bank started 50 years ago to help them settle down in US and getting the financial support. We deal with deposit, savings, and credit cards, and also mortgage. In the meantime, not only helping them settling down in the United States, we also help them with their business back home in Asia Pacific. So this is why that we've been working on cross-border businesses for the last 50 years, and we have deep expertise in that space. And the good news is the work of what we have done here not only is for the commercial businesses, we also work with US government. So for example, some of you may know that US has an export-import bank, and they sponsor a lot of small, medium businesses. And they have programs such as working capital guarantee. And with the work we have worked with and done for the US bank and working with SMBs, we actually were recognized as one of the leading banks and the lender of the year for 2022. So we were very proud with all the work we have done for cross-border, and we look forward to working with each one of you and Alibaba.com to help you solve the financing challenges.
Thank you, Parker. So from your perspective, what are some of the common challenges, right, and banking needs for the small and medium businesses that often encounter that you see that they're trying to venture into kind of cross-border commerce?
Very good question. So technology has done a lot of great things, and it makes starting a new business in the United States so much more easier. In 2021, there are a total of 32.5 million small businesses in the United States. 32.5 million. That accounts for 99.9% of all businesses in the United States. So a huge number. With the technology support, it now takes as little as 4 days to get a company registered. And it takes less than $5,000 to start a company. So that's the good news. The bad news is from the banking perspective, the banking as an industry has now really kept up with the small, medium enterprises. So for example, if we look at the online application, if we look at the digital banking applications for SMBs, they are definitely not as good as what you have for your consumer banking, right? You know, if you go to Amazon, if you go to Alibaba, it's so much easier to do the business. But if you deal with most of the banks, it's not easy. In the meantime, many of the banks still require you to go to the branches to have in-person consultation before you can open an account, before you can get a credit card for SMBs. So that's not easy. In addition, if we look at the payments, Zelle for consumers has been hugely popular. I'm sure each one of us here has used Zelle for our personal businesses. But if you look at Zelle for business, majority of the US banks still don't offer that. There are a total of 4,800 banks in the United States. And if we look at Zelle for business, probably only about 50 to 60 of them offer that today. So a very small number. So the good news is East West offers Zelle for business. So that's the good news. And then lastly, which is probably the most important thing for all the audience here, which is getting financing. When you start a new business, day 1, you have to pay your supplier. Day 30, you have to pay your employees. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to be able to get your revenue until day 90. So there is a huge need to have the financing to be able to support the business, to look at the working capital. So those are the challenges that many of the SMBs already face. And if we add in the cross-border, it makes the banking even more challenging. For example, you're doing the cross-border, so you have to deal with your customers, you have to deal with your suppliers, most likely in a different time zone, using a different language. If you have any problems with cross-border payments, you have to deal with 4 different players. You have to deal with yourself, your supplier, your bank, your supplier's bank. If you have a problem with payment, you have to get all 4 parties to work together across time zones using different languages to make it work. That is very, very challenging. And one other thing that many of you probably haven't thought about is when you're dealing with cross-border payments, it's not only about the difficulties of the time zones and the languages, it's also about the issues with regulatory compliance. Because we're dealing with cross-border now, we have to think about OFAC, we have to think about money laundering. Those are the things that none of us wake up in the morning to think about. But unfortunately, once you get into the cross-border, you have to think about that, you have to deal with that. So that's why that if I look at the number yesterday, 27% thinking about the financing challenges, I think the number is probably low. I think it's probably 100% of the people thinking about how do I do banking, how do I do financing, how do I solve the problem in my case so that I can pay my employees, I can pay my suppliers, and I can get paid and I can make money.
Wow, so I feel like, as you mentioned, Parker, there's so many things for small businesses, right, to consider when it comes to banking. So building on your insight, as we look to support small medium businesses navigating this complexity of cross-border trading. Can you share some perspective as well on the flip side, the specific banking tools or opportunities or strategies that they can really consider about to help them really navigate all these complexities?
Thank you. So the short answer is actually very simple. We have a booth right over there. So if you have any questions about banking, you just need to walk over to that booth and get answers. So that's a short answer. Joking aside, unfortunately, every SMB is going to have your own unique need. It's going to be very hard for me to generalize here and talk about what could work for each one of you individually. What I can do is offer a couple of thoughts for you to consider. So the number one is, when we pick a bank, most of us pick a bank because it's convenient. So you look around in your neighborhood, you find a branch, you walk in there, and you try to get banking. So that's the easy solution. Unfortunately, majority of the banks in the United States don't deal with cross-border. So they don't understand how to think about the issues you have to deal with when you're doing the cross-border commerce. So what you might want to consider is actually having multiple banks. So you have your local convenience from the convenient perspective, and if you need to deal with cash, the local banks will be convenient for you. On the other hand, you don't have to be constrained by one bank. American Banker, the leading publication in the industry, actually has done a survey. Their survey results shows that 78% of small, medium enterprises actually have multiple banks. Out of the 78%, 31% of them work with 2 banks, and 47% of them work with more than 3 banks. So this is the opportunity for you to think about your banking strategy, which is you have the convenience, and you also look for the cross-border expertise. And you can combine them together, so you get the convenience and you get the expertise. So that's one thing to consider. The second thing to consider is, I mentioned earlier, that in the old days, and also in most of the banks today, when you're dealing with SMB banking, you have to get the in-person consultation. The good news is that's no longer true. Technology has now enabled us to be able to bank anywhere, anytime. So you might be okay to think about, do I have to go visit the bank in person? Can I actually do the virtual banking? Can I get the virtual banking services? For example, you don't have to go to China now to open a Chinese bank account, and your suppliers don't have to come to the United States to open a bank account. There are possibilities, there are tools, there are different channels that allow you to do the banking, account opening, and getting the services virtually in this case. So those are just 2 ideas that I want to offer for you to consider.
Thank you so much, Parker, for your insights. I'm sure that those of you really thinking about banking, right, as one of your challenge, I think those are great points that what Parker shared you guys can really take into consideration. So next, I would like to turn to Roseate. Roseate, to start off with, many might say Ant Group, it's a financial ecosystem in itself, right? So can you tell us a bit about our audience here and our live stream as well about Ant Group and how the company supports enterprise engaging cross-border commerce?
Sure. Thanks very much for having us on the call on this stage. So when we're looking at Ant Group, and when I think about how it actually started, it started from actually always about how to solve the problem at the present, at the time. And when we started about more than 20 years ago, Ant Group was there to solve one simple problem of marketplace. It's actually a domestic marketplace in China, about the buyers paying, not knowing if they will get the goods, about the sellers sending out goods, not knowing if they will get paid. At that point, there's no such institution or no such solution to actually make both sides feel comfortable with that money movement. So Ant created the concept of Alipay. Basically, is their fiduciary, is their a place to hold the money from the buyer and ensure the seller deliver the money and give the money to the sellers. And with that, we find enormous response from both buyer and sellers wanting to have that service. And we take the burden, created the wallet, Alipay. Now, from that point on, we find that's not only just for that platform, it morphed into the broader audience and population in China. Now Alipay wallet is one of the largest wallet that operate in China, and people using there on day in, day out. You don't really use any cash, any card there. You're just using Alipay, and they can basically do everything you need to do in the daily work. Now with that success, or with that experience, we also realized the similar needs could happen outside of the border of China. So we start to look around, and throughout the remaining next 10 years or so, we started to invest and work with many local countries around the Southeast Asia, has similar kind of problem that Chinese population economics have. And so we started to actually now partner or invest or work with more than 13 wallets around the whole Southeast Asia community, so that the local consumers can have equivalent of digital wallet experience in their ecosystem and in their day-to-day life. Because in those countries, credit card is not really that prevalent. Only less than 20% of them can have credit card. So have a digital wallet to help them safely do their day-to-day payment become a really, really important step of their life. So after we solving that problem, obviously, with those 13 wallets that garner more than 2 billion consumers over there, and with huge purchase power, we start to think about how to help the merchant to reach to that, right? Especially all the merchants want to sell to those market, not necessarily familiar with the local payment options and payment capacities. And that's why we started to having our Alipay Plus ecosystem, helping merchants around the world to sell to those consumer base, to sell to those areas that have those alternative payment method that they might not necessarily familiar with. And our role is always about how to make it easier for those merchants to do business in those areas that they're not familiar with. Now coming to US, and as late as last year, we started to notice that there's so many merchants in US, obviously trade cross-border, whether to buy overseas, whether to sell overseas. The internet make the globe much closer, make everybody can buy, sell cross-border much easier. However, the money movement, again, is not an easy part. And in US, as we all know, you probably can only open a US dollar-based account in any bank. But when you are dealing with cross-border trade, when you're buying from a supplier overseas, or when you sell with the consumer overseas, you nevertheless need to deal with currency that's not US dollar. So what we do is we use our all the license and expertise across the globe that we have accumulated along the years. We'll create a product called Zyla, which is a multi-currency account that any US merchant can open online. And so that with just single US entity, you can actually open currencies in all the G10 currencies around the world without having to have entities or everything over there. And by doing so, we're hoping is to actually bridge the gap of what the US merchant can do to buy and sell overseas. And along all this story, all this kind of progression is really following the same principle of we want to be there using our technology to solve the problem, to fill the void that is there wherever it is needed in the ecosystem.
Got it, got it. Wow, so with your vast financial payment industry experience, you understand way better than many of us like this complexity, right, that both Parker and you just mentioned when it comes to cross-border payment. I'm just thinking, as you mentioned, from regulatory compliance, fluctuating exchange rates, right, to security and fraud example. So what do you say are some of the most common challenges that you see for SMBs when it comes to dealing, to cross-border payment specifically?
Sure, honestly, that all the things that you guys said, and they all reality challenges or problems that we need to solve. However, we shouldn't really burden that to the small business enterprises because their job is really what they wanted to do. If it's a shoemaker, their focus is how to make the shoe better. If it is a furniture maker, it's their focus to make the furniture good so that everyone around the world can enjoy it. So our role, I take, is to take our expertise, take what we know about fraud detections, what we know about global anti-money laundering, what we know about OFAC, and there's many other, lists out there around the globe. Take that burden away from the small business. So you don't have to worry about it. So you don't have to think about all these different regulations, all these rules, all this burden that is there, that's needed to be there, but let us to take care for you. That's what we want to be there for you is. So you can focus on create the product that you're interested in and sell it to the place where you feel like you want it to be. We will be there for you to take care of those needs about how to collect the money locally, how to sell to the locally, find you the trusted partners to do that. On top of that, and we can do all the risk monitoring, KYCs, AMLs, the safe environment for you to feel confident and comfortable to trade in our ecosystem. So I don't want them to even know the problem. I want them to know, while working with us, we will solve the problem for you.
And for, here sitting in the crowd, right, audience, many businesses that are thinking about venturing into the, international market, right? The complexity can be very daunting in a sense. So, and then also the challenge that you mentioned. So could you also share some of the opportunities and strategies that these businesses can really leverage, right, to manage all these payment processes, as you mentioned, and navigate some of the common pitfalls, right, that they face?
Sure. If there's one trick, open a Xyla account. Xyla.com. And you can go to online now on the phone. It's online. You can sign up, and we have team help you sign up. You don't have to go to any booth, any physical store. However, the key is once you open it up, and we can help you open account in all the currencies you want and pay out in all the currencies you want in the FX rate that is much, much more competitive than what you would find in the normal bank and the street. And also, along with that, we will consult with you because there is a lot of important kind of, aspect that you need to looking at. For example, when you're sourcing suppliers overseas, how do you know if that supply is trustworthy? How do you know if the quality is really good, right? But because our vast ecosystem that we accumulated throughout the years, we have so many merchants around the globe, in Asia, in China, in Europe, in UK, in Australia, in Singapore. So we can actually find you the suppliers that actually you will find a lot more comfortable to work with. And this way that we already do the filter for you. We already did the KYC on the other side for you. And when you say, oh, I'm looking for this kind of suppliers in these countries, then we can actually help you say, oh, this one you might be looking forward to. So instead of you going through all that, using your resource, we wanted to using the whole Ant Group's resource to be there for you. So regardless you're small and big, you have Ant as your back to help you grow their business. So really, Xyla.com, that's all I can say. Thank you.
Sounds like we got a one-stop shop solution there. Thank you, Roseate. And Taeyong, or TY, as a true expert, with over 20 years of experience in supply chain, let's talk about logistics. First of all, I'm sure people know about Samsung, right, for many things, but logistics might not be first that come to people's mind. So can you start off, please, kind of tell us a little bit about Samsung SDS?
Okay, to manage time, I will use short time. My name is T.Y. Song. I'm from Samsung SDS. Yeah, as you know, Samsung is a group company. We have a mobile, semiconductor, display, battery. Besides those kind of high-tech product, we also have a shipbuilding, insurance, and even we have a duty-free shop. And among them, anyway, Samsung SDS in charge of IT technology and logistics services in Samsung Group.
Great. And with you, like I shared, with your extensive, involvement in logistics and supply chain, right? I'm sure that you service a lot of businesses, large and small. Can you share with us some of the challenges from a logistics standpoint, some of the pain points that you see and challenges that you see often when it comes to SMB logistics?
Sure. To begin with, traditional global 3PL, they are likely to focus on enterprise customer. Enterprise customer means big volume. But now market's changing. Thanks to Alibaba maybe. E-commerce, B2B e-commerce, B2C e-commerce is booming. And procurement and sales process is now going online. And small SMB customers can easily access to the final customer thanks to the technology. Okay, focus on SMB. Number one, they are challenging. They cannot have a big volume. They have a small volume. There is a challenge. Small volume means do not have negotiation power with the carrier, not easily get a better rate, and even though you get the rate, not easy to secure the space. So there is a big challenge. And number two, no dedicated logistics manpower. Let's say SMB, they have a 50%. They are likely to have a sales team, product team, and also a marketing team. But in such a small organization, we cannot expect somebody dedicated only for logistics. So when they procure something, the procurement personnel maybe do some logistic jobs as part-time. And when they sell something, sales guys do some logistic jobs as part-time. So that is also one of the challenges. Because of the small volume and no dedicated manpower. Number three, challenge is do not have enough experience and knowledge in logistics. And there's one more challenge. Now, we cannot think about logistics without IT technology. Now, logistics and IT go together. So it's very hard to catch up with the up-to-date IT technology and trend in these days. So under these four challenges, SMB, to get better rate, they can approach global forwarder because they have a big volume. They are likely to offer you better rate. But the problem is they are not likely to assign a dedicated person, only support that SMB because they are looking for the volume. So if SMB wants dedicated service from the service provider, so the rest of the other SMB can approach small local porters. Maybe they can assign very dedicated person for only that company, but the problem is they don't have enough expertise to cover all the complex logistics operations. So we can think about leveraging the IT technology scale from global 3PL because they have volume, they can negotiate more. And dedicated service, nowadays, because of the technology, we can ask many queries like rate, request, service through chatbot. So combine these two important things from big global trade forwarder and a local house forwarder. We can think about digital logistics service platform as an alternative option. So think about how you work. Once you work with the digital freight forwarding service provider, you can easily look at the terms and conditions of their terms and condition and click, and okay, done. Within 5 minutes, you can make a contract. And when you need a quotation, you can simply input POL, where is your departing country, and POD, and commodity types, number of containers. You can get an instant quotation very easily. But as I said, SMB does not likely to have a dedicated IT, the logistic personnel. They might have a lot of questions. You can ask those kind of questions through the chat. I mean, the chatbot can answer your questions 24/7 basis. So that can be also one of the benefits. And once you make a booking, and then the problem is the visibility. So normally big platforms. They have a connection with all the steamship liners and air carriers. And also, they have a EDI link with all the relevant bodies like warehouse and also trucking companies. So through these kind of EDI connections with relevant bodies, you can check out the end-to-end visibility through the platform. Okay, this is the benefit from digital freight forwarding platform. Samsung, as this, we launched our digital trading service. We call it Cello's Care. You can simply visit our booth. They are our partners. Maybe can ask you about the questions. So let me summarize. SMB can have a challenge, small volume, and no dedicated manpower, lack of knowledge about logistics, and very not easy to catch up with IT technology. I hope and I believe through digital logistics service platform, you can use better service no matter how much cargo do you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, so I see you point on some of the key things, right? I think that a lot of small businesses, they don't have the scale, right, to really be competitive, right, with the big players. So it comes down to essentially how they can be efficient, cost-effective, right, to help with their day-to-day, small businesses. So sounds like efficient logistics is crucial, right, for SMBs engaging cross-border B2B commerce. So from your perspective, what are some of the key components of a effective logistics strategy, right, and opportunities that businesses should consider to help them manage, these complexities of, if we talk about shipment and deliveries?
Okay, effectiveness. Think about traditionally, two factors are very important. One is cost, and the other is the service quality. You cannot think about somebody has a very good service, but very expensive. Nobody will use it. Vice versa. You have a very good rate, very cheap, but every time off-road, delay, and eventually nobody will use it. So to be effective in logistics, this cost and service quality is the key factors. But in this state, we have to consider another two more factors. The other third factor is agility. Through the pandemic, we already experienced. There are many things can happen. So when you have external factors affect your logistic operation, you have to be very agile to the environment. That is the third factor. The last factor is sustainability. SMB, as their business grow and grow, they become more big company. They need a market reputation to sell more. So now the example is CO2 emissions. So now everybody check that a company announced our CO2 emission is how much. So to be competitive in the market, we have to consider these four elements. 1, cost. 2, service quality. 3, agility. Number 4, sustainability. But when you look at these four elements, there is one common thing. You take care of one common thing, you can increase all the other 4 factors. That is the inventory level. What if you have excessive leftover inventory? Think about the cost. If you have more inventory, in the market actually you need only 100, but if you have just in case nobody knows, so you are worried, you have 200 inventories in the market. That means you will spend more storage charge, so your cost will increase. And think about the service quality. More inventory means your complexity of your logistics operation. That means also can affect your service quality because you have to manage more cargos. And when it comes to the agility, more cargo means anyway you have to arrange the cargo in different warehouse and to ship the cargos to somewhere else. It means also not easy to agile in the market. And lastly, about the sustainability. Anyway, you have a more cargo, that means you have to use more space and more delivery, means more CO2 emissions. So actually, optimization of inventory level is the ultimate goal of supply chain management and logistics. So this factor, number one, optimization of inventory level is very important. And then second thing is actually is data. You cannot ignore the importance of data because how you can make your operation more optimized. First step, measurement. You have to know where is my cargo, how much. So measurement is the first step. And second, based on the number you collect, you have to analyze all your cargo movement. Where is waste? Which point we can upgrade? So second step will be the analyze. And then based on the data and analysis, the third step can be improve your operation. And you continuously monitor your performance. So this is the cycle. How can you make optimization in your inventory level? But to achieve this, the second thing is data. Do not ignore the importance of data. And last factor you have to consider is think about your logistic procurement. Through the bidding, you can 10% rate discount, but every year 10%, after 10 years, your logistic cost becomes zero? No. It's highly likely that because of the market, maybe you get 10% discount. Market goes down. It's not actually really 100% from the procurement process because of market. So you have to have a long-term perspective. So my suggestion, number 3, is work with the right service provider based on long-term partnership. So to be effective in the market, let me summarize. 1, optimize your inventory level. Number 2, please do not ignore the importance of the data. Number 3, work with right partner based on long-term partnership.
This is what you get from a true expert in logistics, right? That was a lot of insights, information, TY, that we need to unpack and digest. And as we now only have a little bit of time left, I have one final question for all of you. So with so many years experience you guys have in your respective area, if you could give one key piece of advice, right, to all the business here, owners here looking to expand their business globally, what would that be? Let's start with Parker.
Sure. My view would be, given that I'm in the banking industry, my suggestion for you when you're considering your banking needs would be pick a bank that have locations across both here and wherever you need to source your supply from. So this way, you only have to deal with one bank, and that's much easier.
Rosette?
That's probably already know my answer. But to be honest, as from a business perspective, if you really, the world is a really, really complex place, and there's so many areas out there. And when you're thinking of to expand to a location or to a region, truly understand what that destination is, truly understand the local kind of environment, I think is super, super important, because you don't want to stretch your thing. You heard all the things about, oh, this was good, that is good, then you started to go all, and then you short of your resource. So I always think that important to do your research to understand which one is right fit for you is really important. And obviously, if you come to us, we'll help you to find that. But focus on what is best for you is really important.
UI?
Okay. Think about this keyword, digitalizations. Personally, I used to be a financial company 20 years ago. At the time, I was in charge of stock system trading. And at the time, when they buy and sell stock, people visit the branch in person and buy and sell stock. But at the time, thanks to the IT technology, online trading was booming. And think about now, who go to the branch and buy a stock? If you need buy some stock, you just pick up your phone and see the price and place an order. So what will happen in the logistics in the future? Now, still, logistics is a traditional business, but some people look at the screen and make a booking. But eventually, in the long run, everybody just use mobile to place a booking and to secure the space. So think about digitalizations in logistics.
Great. Thank you so much, Parker, Roseate, and Taeyong. So as we close this insightful panel discussion, I also want to highlight, right, the vital role that Alibaba.com plays in bringing all this ecosystem partner together, right, to make it easy to for you guys to do business, right, for each of you. So we're more than just a platform, right, where Alibaba.com is really your partner in success. So I'd like to thank you all again, Parker, Roseate, and TY, for your phenomenal sharing and insights. And for those of you who would like to, interested to learn more, you can go back there, with the booth. And as well as most of you, or I would say all of you, should have received also email invitation to attend some of the sharing sessions, right? If you guys, any of you are interested to learn more about, what Parker and Roseate and TY has mentioned. Thank you all again for joining us and for your attention. Thank you.